On this week's podcast, we've got Gary Helms. He's my second cousin. He's also Kevin's brother, older brother. So, we've asked him to come. He was in town for a couple of days, and he's got a very interesting life, a very extra usual life. And we were excited about getting the chance to sit down and talk to him about some old stories, and also to find out more about his life. He's been all over the world with inspecting quality control of airplane parts. He's worked for Vought for uh, you know 30 years or 25, 30 years. He's done he they've sent him to Korea, sent him to all over the world, and but also once he retired from Vought, he became a contract inspector, and he's been all over the world for that as well. But his also interest is in sailboats, and he's had multiple sailboats. He's had a lot of sailboat adventures, and he's currently working on getting his sailboat from the California coast down through the Panama Canal and back up into the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic side of the ocean. So, I really wanted to talk to him about his sailing adventures and experiences, and found out about it. Before we get into his podcast, I just want to mention a couple of people. I'm still calling them my sponsors, even though nobody's paying me for this, but they have given me support. And Eugenio gives me free lunches, meals for every £2 I lose. I get a free meal. So first one I'm going to mention is Eugenio Torres of Fresh and Rico. If you need a meal prep, you need a health conscious meal prep, he's your man. He's a classically trained chef, and he's doing health conscious meal plans. You can order them weekly at his website, www.fresh, the letter N, Rico, freshandrico.com. And you can order the meals on Thursday or before, and he'll deliver them personally, or you can pick them up at 3 different locations here in Ellis County. They're about $11 a meal, and they are outstanding, and they're great for the people trying to lose weight. I've always got to mention Diamond Dallas Page and his DDPY program. I wouldn't be here 169 pounds down lighter without him. I wouldn't be here at all doing any of this stuff without him. And so, if you're looking for a weight loss solution, and you're wanting to try something different, he's probably helped more large people lose weight than any other program out there. And you just absolutely feel great. You just got to trust him, trust the system, and I'm telling you, it works. I'm living proof. So if you want to try his app is DDP Yoga Now. And he'll give you a 7 days free trial, www.ddpyoganow.com, and check out the app. And it's a wonderful thing. He's also got a Facebook group called DDP Yoga that's very supportive, very positive group, and it's just a wonderful program. Lastly, I want to mention Crazy Water. They're having a festival in Mineral Wells on October the 13th, and I'm going to try to, my wife and I are going to run the 5K at the festival, and go participate or walk the 5K. So without further ado, here is Gary Helms. All right, guys, we're live. All right, let's start. See, I can use that to take out. I can
get an intro.
Yeah, I can take out the ambient noise. I can record that and then take out the ambient noise. Okay. So it's pretty cool, and then cut it out later. But anyway, we got Gary Helms here today on the Extrausual podcast. This is my second cousin. It's Kevin's brother. I'm here with Kevin Helms and my wife Mary Hines, and our guest today is the world traveler Gary Helms.
World traveler.
And I want to start off saying I got a bone to pick with you, Gary.
Kevin told me you were upset with me.
You're awful damn selfish. You don't even think about your family anymore. I mean,
what were you thinking when you run off that girlfriend that had all the fishing places, and you run off the girlfriend, and she would, her brother would pull us up and give us shrimp straight out of the bay. I mean, what you got to be a little, and then you sell the house, sell the boat. I mean, you got to think more about me and my family, Gary. I mean, golly.
Well, I gotta say, I miss that place.
Yeah.
It is not. It didn't Matagorda. And crazy. You didn't? It was crazy. The hotel I was staying at in Matagorda, out in Florida, was work. The last night that I was out there, this gal comes up to the bar. Her and her husband are out there. Guess where they're from? Matagorda, Texas.
Oh man!
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. The world is a small place.
Yeah, well, I told Kevin I was gonna jump on you about that. I had to start it off right.
There you go. That's why. Dang it, I quit.
You're out of here. I ain't gonna put up with this shit.
Where's that beer at?
Yeah.
You promised me beer if I do.
Yeah, that's right. But I brought lime and salt. Make you feel at home.
There we go.
All right.
It's like being in Mexico.
All right. So Garrett, we asked you to be on here because of mainly, I think you really got an interesting story about what you do as a profession, how you got there, but also your life traveling different places and sailing. I mean, and your love of sailing and what all you've done for that. So first I want you to give the viewers. I'm acting like we really got viewers now. All three of them. I want you to give all three of our relatives. Tell them
that are listening
to this. Tell them basically what you do for a living.
I work for aircraft companies. I was out in California doing supplier support for Boeing, and then when I just went to Florida, I was helping them with their audit, their AS9100 certification, it's an aircraft certification that Boeing requires, or the major airliners require in order to do business with them. And every company that builds parts for them has to have this AS9100 certification. It's an international standard, and I was helping them get through their audit. They had a few problems. So.
And what are you inspecting? What are you certifying?
I'm certifying that their processes, that their quality system meet the international standard. That the product that they're putting out when it gets to Boeing is going to be what aircraft quality. It's not going to be Joe's Garage down here. That's one of the things I tell all the mechanics out there is, you're not working at the garage anymore down here, because when a car breaks down, you can pull off on the side of the road. When you're 30,000 feet, there is no side of the road to pull off on to. You can't, halfway it. It's got to be done right. So,
well, how did you get to this point in your profession? How did you? If someone wants to be what you do, how do they become that?
That's a good question. Justin's on the way now. My son, he's working up here at Red Oak, but you just have to. And Kevin's up in Red Oak. Yep. You just gotta get into the aircraft business. Was it back in 82, 83? I had a carpentry business here in Waxahachie, remodeling these old houses, and the economy went bad, and went up and put in an application.
The Yankee ran off with all of our tools.
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah.
Who was that?
A dude named Sid.
Yeah, Sid. He was kind of a shyster.
Got us work.
And
yeah. We're kind of like that, dude.
Yeah, like our home builder.
Contractor that ran out with everything.
Oh, yep. So I lost my tail back then, and went up to LTV and applied, and started out as an inspector. back
Went up
then.
there with our grandfather.
Yeah, my granddad
Who,
retired from there.
Retired.
He was, I guess he worked for him for 35 years after he came back from the war. He went to work up there at the old Chance Vault facility.
He was there 35 years.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
At LTV.
at LTV. It was LTV then. After I got there, it changed from LTV. They got in trouble. They got into that steel business, and then that went belly up. Then it rolled over to just Vought. It was just Vought Aircraft. And then went through another ownership change. Northrop Grumman bought them. Then Carlisle Group bought them. And
Carlisle, that's what's his name?
Carlisle was an investment group out of New York.
Investment bankers.
Yeah. And then Carlisle turned around and sold them to Triumph, which is who owns them now. And
And it ain't the same place.
no, not close.
At least it's
Triumph's
close to
on-
home. It's in Red
Yeah,
Oak instead
that's
of
true.
Arlington.
Yeah.
Tried to get away from the Union by moving from Grand Prairie to Red Oak,
Yeah.
but they just voted the Union back in. I heard.
Out there at Red Oak. Well, did now you put yourself you graduated from Italy High School.
Yep.
What year?
1976.
And you got to say Italy. You can't say Italy.
That's right. Italy.
Italy, Texas.
Italy's across the ocean.
Yeah, Italy. The three syllable
It's right
one.
down the road.
Yeah, Italy.
That's it. The Gladiators.
And then you put yourself through UTA.
So UTA.
And what degree did you graduate from the University of
Computer
Texas
science.
at Arlington?
No, he graduated.
I graduated from Dallas Baptist.
Oh,
I got
Baptist.
120 something hours in at UTA, and then wound up the program that Vought was offering was they would pay for your school, but they did it through Dallas Baptist.
Yeah.
And so when I got to that point right there to finish up, I went ahead and got into their program just so they would pay for the rest of my senior year.
And it's right behind
Yeah.
the Grand Prairie plant. It's 20 minutes away, 15.
Yeah. So I'd just go over there about 2 o'clock every day. I'd go in at 4 and get off at 2 and go over to get my classes in from 2 to 6 and finished up there at Dallas Baptist.
and you had a computer science degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what did you do? What did you start doing for Vought after that?
I started, I got moved into the quality engineering group, and I was maintaining the computers for all of the quality department. I was writing programs for them for tracking of calibrated instruments and expiration of materials, things to track. Anything that needed to be tracked, I wrote programs for. Did that for 2 or 3 years, and then went over to machine parts inspection and started writing programs for them to operate these big CMMs, coordinated measuring machines, so that they could measure the parts automatically. And I did some programming for that for a couple of years, and then became the supervisor over that group. And somehow, after a couple of years, I changed within Vought. I changed jobs, I guess about 5 or 6 times, and finally wound up in a supplier support group that I went to Charleston on, and lived in Charleston for a couple of years to open up the 787 program out there.
When was that?
That was in 2006 through about 9 that I was out there. But that's when I started traveling a lot, because I went out there. They would send me. We had suppliers in Augsburg, Germany. Went over there to do some supplier support for them.
How long were you in Germany?
I'd go for just 2 or 3 weeks at a time over to look at what they were doing and do the first articles on parts. And wound up, I went to Germany, went to Italy to a supplier there, went to Japan, went to South Korea. I was in Korea for about 3 years. And
Did you speak Korean?
Waeseo, kamsamnida. A few words. what was it? Waseo was a waiter, and then Kansamida was thank you.
Kimchi.
I ate a lot of kimchi. Yeah.
What 3 years were you in South Korea?
Man, that was going to be 2009, 10, and 11 probably.
Well, tell us about that. That sounds pretty neat.
Oh,
Living in South Korea.
It was quite an experience. Had a couple of pretty good scares over there. They bailed us all out and got everybody out of the country a couple of times when the North Koreans started saber rattling and threatened to bomb them. They told us all to get to the airport immediately and get out of there. So that we leave the country, come back here, and then turn around when things had calmed down and go back and keep going.
What city were you in South Korea?
I was in Busan, and there's two different pronunciations. On the maps it says Busan now, but the old pronunciation was Busan. That's what all the locals call it here.
Busan.
Yeah. I thought that would give us a joke. I thought that would pull us a joke.
But it was a really neat area over there. I had a few people that could speak English fairly well, and they would always tell me in the plant, we can understand some Americans, but we don't understand you a lot of times because of my southern accent.
You had to speed it up for them, I guess.
Yeah. But I did a lot of, I had a rental car, so I got in there, and man, you talk about hard to drive. That traffic over there, in South Korea, everybody thought that they should be at the front of the line. So you'd be sitting at a stoplight and cars would be pulling up on the sidewalk and coming around and getting in the crosswalk, right there in the middle, so that they could be the first one out of there. And then here come a motorcycle up, and there'd be 7 people sitting on a motorcycle. I've got some old pictures of this guy. He was delivering eggs on a scooter, and he's got egg trays of eggs stacked up right below his eyes, sitting on the scooter, and then on behind him, he's got another stack taller than he is sitting on that scooter, and he's driving down the road, weaving through traffic, going to all these because over there they don't have much refrigeration, so all the food had to be bought every day. And so they had little stores on every corner. And this guy would be delivering eggs from his farm out in the country, and he'd be just hitting every little store and selling them some eggs.
Oh, man.
But you saw some crazy stuff over there.
Well, did you like it? Did you like being in South Korea?
I really enjoyed it. It changed a lot in the 3 years that I was. When I first got there was a McDonald's and an Outback. There was an Outback Steakhouse. And by the time I left, there were Papa John's Pizza, Burger King. There was several American places over there, and you could see it in the Koreans. They started getting hefty. They started getting fat.
Eating American
because they were
food.
eating Americans. That's it.
Yeah, Americanized.
Yeah. I mean, but you go to the Korean places, and I mean, it'd be like a fish market down here at the end of the road. Go down there and eat, and they'd had all these live tanks because Busan's right on the Gulf there. Was it the Sea of Japan? And so a lot of everything you ate there just about was fish, and you'd go in and pick out the fish you wanted, and then you'd go upstairs, get a beer, and go sit down. Well, they'd take that fish and go cook it and bring it up there to you. And I'm sitting there at the table, and there was this guy ordered this big old fish, and they bring it out, and that fish was about, I don't know, 1.5 feet, 2 foot long. And it's they bring it out to him in this hot, sizzling plate, and the fish's mouth is still going.
Still moving?
Yeah.
They were still cooking.
It was still, it was still cooking, right in the middle there. The middle of the fish was cooked, but the ends of it wasn't cooked. I'm going, wow. I think I don't want that one. Then they'd bring out what to eat with a bunch of guys from work, and they had this big pot. They do a lot of these things where you cook soups in the middle of the table on a burner, and they're boiling this vegetable soup up, and this lady comes out with a big old cauldron of squid about that long, about 2 inches long, and flips that in the middle there. Well, those squid immediately are trying to get out of that soup, that hot soup. They're starting to swim for the sides, and all those Korean guys are reaching with their chopsticks and grabbing those things and popping them in their mouth. And they're popping them in their mouth, and the tentacles are sticking out here. And they're putting them in their mouth. That was some experience with eating over there.
I'm not eating anything alive.
Yeah, we went up, went hiking up this mountain, and right before you got to the peak, there was a little wooden shack over on the side, and these ladies are out. They're out there and they're cooking. They got 4 or 5 picnic tables, and it's just two older women, and there's one lady sitting over there, and she got a chicken in her hand, and she's spinning it around, wringing his neck, and then she's plucking it. And you stop there and order your food, order something to eat, and then you go ahead and do the hike up and come back down. And on your way down, you stop and have a meal. And it's fresh food, man. You have a big old bowl of chicken soup.
I bet it was good.
It was delicious.
Oh,
but it was crazy sitting there watching her just slinging that chicken around.
Somebody's got to kill it.
Yeah. Yep.
So tell me again. I know you said what years were you in Korea?
It was 2008, 9, and 10, or 9, 10, and 11.
Did you have any trouble with visas or anything? And Vought take care of all that?
No, Vought took care of everything over there. Yeah, when I first started going over, you could only stay in country 30 days at a time. Then they had to send you out. So they sent me out. I went down to Bangkok once.
Thailand?
Yeah.
Oh, we might not talk about that one on air.
Yeah, that one we don't want to. There's not a lot that went on there that I can talk about.
What do you recommend in Bangkok?
Bangkok's a lot of people. It's crowded.
Yeah.
I got on one of those little tuk-tuk things, like a motorcycle with the seat on the back of it, with crossways, and had him just take me on a tour of the city. And man, he scared the hell out of me. Because those people, the Koreans were bad at driving. The Taiwan, oh man, they were terrible. All through that area, it was just wall to wall people everywhere you went.
You know, Mary and I have friends with Jed Shook. I don't know, Kevin, you remember? You met Jed? And he's a Marine. I asked him one time if you could everywhere you've been. He 20-year retired Marine. I said, where would you want to live? He said Thailand. He didn't hesitate.
Really?
Yeah.
He liked it, huh? I just didn't. I didn't care for that many people. Now I took a couple of tours to see like Buddhist temples. They took us to must have been 100 Buddhist temples all over the place, and that was pretty neat because we got out of the city and went out through the rural areas. I mean, we saw some Buddhist, the big statues. One of them was like 170 feet long, and Buddha was laying. He was laying down and had his head sitting on his hand, and then that one was like a big plaster mold that was just forever. And then other ones would be just temples, beautiful temples. They'd have big gold or bronze Buddhas right there in the middle of them. It was pretty cool.
So after Korea, where'd you go?
I went to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and was down there for, I guess, 3 months. That was a neat place. Went up to had a really crazy experience there. There was a casino up on top of one mountain. Well, to get to it, you had to go up the road to this other mountain, and they had a gondola that went over the rainforest from peak to peak of the mountains, and that was how you got to the casino. Well, I had a taxi driver taking me up there, and we're in a little old bitty junky 4-cylinder car, and we're going up this mountain. We're about halfway up. That thing overheats. It starts steam coming out everywhere. I'm going, crap. He gets out, and he pulls his water jug out of the trunk, and he's up there putting water in it. And I'm looking out, and there's yellow flagging on these trees all down the side of the road right beside us. I got out, I was going to stretch my legs while he was putting that water in there. I got out, walked up there with him, and he goes, "Oh, get back in the car, get back in the car." And I'm just going to stretch my legs again. He said, "No." And he pointed over that flag, and he said, "Tiger." And I'm going, "What?" He said, "The tiger had come out. A guy was riding his bicycle by there, and the tiger came out and ate him." I got back in the car.
It's like, you got the water in it.
Yeah. Let me know when you're finished. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, the yellow flag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you know what a yellow flag means.
Yeah, that's it.
El Tigre.
El Tigre, yeah. I didn't want nothing else to do with that. But I went and rode elephants. I went to an elephant rehab sanctuary where they took these elephants that had gotten injured or different things. That was a pretty cool place. They rode them all over the compound. They'd ride them down into the river, and these guys would stand up on their backs with a big old long scrub brush, give them a bath, and it was pretty neat.
You know, I read somewhere that somebody, there was, I can't remember, an island or something, but there were tigers, maybe over in that area, but the people working alongside the jungle, they would wear a mask on the back of their head because tigers sneak up on you from behind. And so they had to work with a mask on the back of their head.
To make it look like they're
they're looking at it. Yeah, I'd want a little more defense, than a damn mask. Yeah. I mean, how bad do you want to work to put a mask on? But Malaysia, anything else over there?
No, that was pretty much it. I went up in the towers, the Petronas towers.
Yeah.
I took the tour up that. And that was pretty impressive structure. That thing is big, but other than that, it was pretty quiet. I went downtown to this farmer's market. That was, I guess, it was kind of cool. They had all kinds of stuff all over downtown, and these meat markets you could go and they just they had these big hunks of meat hanging up, smoking, and they'd cut you off a big pile of meat. You'd carry it around in a bag. And I'm walking by that thing in one place. It's just covered in, he had to shoot all the flies off of it. And he's cutting meat off and handing it to the people saying, "I'm not eating that." No.
Did you ever get sick eating food like that?
I have never been sick eating food raw.
You got man.
I figured I put enough alcohol in there with it and sterilize it.
I didn't ask you about the beer in Korea and the beer in Thailand.
The beer wasn't too bad. Korea soju it's like their version of sake. It's a rice wine cup. And I brought some of that back with me. It's all gone now. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But it tasted terrible. But every time we'd go out to eat with the guys from work, and their custom was whenever they would they all would make a toast. Well, everybody all the Koreans would bring a shot glass and a bottle of soju over to you, and they would pour you a drink and hand it to you. The custom was you had to they'd bring 2 glasses, then you pour them a glass. So me and one other guy, Larry, we were the 2 Americans. Well, there's 30 Koreans and us 2. So all 30 of them wanted to have a shot with us. So we're having 30 shots of soju. By the end of the thing, we're just kind of laying over in the corner. You're sitting on the floor anyway. So we're kind of leaning up against the wall.
Where'd you go after Malaysia?
Malaysia, I went to Israel.
I thought you went to the Middle East somewhere.
Yeah, I was in Israel I went there 2 or 3 times, but it was only for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. That was pretty interesting. I was in Tel Aviv. It was where we were stationed out of, and then we'd take weekend trips and just go out and went to some castles up in the mountains. Went over to the Golan Heights and saw some airplanes that were some Israeli fighters that were going over to bomb. I guess it was the Syrians. They were having some problems with them, so after we'd gotten there, people were saying, "Yeah, every once in a while you see a rocket come overhead from Syria and get shot up." Yeah, was it Palestine?
Palestinian.
Okay. Yes.
They lob rockets in everyone.
Yeah. So we'd
Just for good measure.
yeah, just
Board.
Yeah.
but it was quite a place. You could always tell when you went from, because you have a lot of Arabs that live there in Israel still. The ones that didn't fight against them during the 7-Day War or whatever, then they let them stay. Well, you'd go through a little town where the Arabs were, and it would be, everything over there is on a mountainside. That whole country is just big mountains mostly. But you'd see the Arabs would just dump their trash right out the back door, and it'd be trash all the way down the mountainside, right there behind it. And then you'd go into where the Israelis lived, and it'd all be groomed and green, and because they would irrigate. And I hope you don't have any viewers that are Arab or any listeners. I don't want anybody to come after me.
Yeah.
But it was you could tell just because the Arabs did not care. They didn't want. They really didn't want all the irrigation and all that stuff. The only reason that they lived in there was because they would go work in the fields for the Israelis to make money, but they wouldn't take care of anything. They just let it go because they felt it was more of the land was should be like nature. It should be like it was always had been. So they were pretty much against, I guess, any improvements. No home improvements on there.
I mean, you throw trash everywhere.
I'm telling you, it stunk. It was nasty when you go to those places.
You're going to get a fatwa or whatever put out on you.
Don't push any of that out there.
South and Russia.
So at each of these places, you're going into where Vaught's are buying their parts for their aircraft.
Right. We had suppliers there.
And you were going in and inspecting the quality of the supply.
Right. Making sure that I do audits on them and make sure they were following all of the rules as far as how they handle the parts and using the right materials. I'd inspect their material certifications, things like that. Make sure they had, they weren't getting counterfeit metals from Russia or somewhere that didn't have the tensile strength that we required for what our requirements were to Boeing.
Where'd you go after Tel Aviv?
After Tel Aviv started, that was getting probably close to the end of my traveling days. I wound up, I was in Italy for a little bit, and then, I went back to Italy with when Lauren, after she graduated, took her back, and we went down through Rome and Venice and just did a couple of week trip.
I've always wanted to do that. I wanted to go to Venice real bad.
Venice is a beautiful city, really beautiful. And you don't have any cars. Everything over there, because it's an island, and everything out there the streets are real narrow, so only you'd have a few little like golf carts that they'd bring the mail or they'd take food and stuff to the different restaurants.
You went to Scotland and Germany, did you?
I went to I spent most of the time in England and Scotland, and then
I want to go to Scotland.
I loved it. I love Scotland.
I want to go check that
I
out.
kept going back up to Scotland the whole time I was there, drinking scotch with those guys. Those are my kind of people up there, man.
Sent me a postcard from France that said "fuck the French."
They weren't very nice to me. I was about to come home, so I decided to go take the ferry over all night, and then took a train down into Paris. And when I walked, I had a backpack. I'd been over there a few months, 2 or 3 months, and walked into the first hotel right outside the train station. And I said, how much for a room? I was tired. And the guy behind the desk said, too much for you.
Really?
So I bought a room. I said, well, give me one. So that's kind of but I did a weekend in Paris, then I took a train over to Frankfurt, Germany, and did a weekend in Frankfurt just to see it. So sad.
Now Frankfurt's more in the northern region, isn't it?
Shit, I can't tell you.
I went to Munich, but that's way down kind of in the southern.
Back in the early '80s, I was over there. I can't. It was just a weekend. I was drunk the whole time, carrying scotch. So did
Warm beer.
Yeah, warm beer. I did have it was near Oktoberfest because I had a Oktoberfest beer in Frankfurt, and that was probably one of the best beers I've ever had.
I love that German beer. I went to the Hofbrauhaus in Munich, which is the oldest beer establishment in Munich.
Wow.
And they had the big Oopah band up on the stage and these long tables. That was so cool. And, the gals walking around having 4 steins of those big old liter steins, carrying them around, pouring the beer all over themselves.
German beer.
Yeah. You can't beat it. That's the best beer in the world. That's like drinking a Snickers bar to me. You get that big old stein of that dark beer. Oh my gosh. It was good.
Well, so when did you retire from Vought?
Retired from Vought. It's been 5 years ago, 6 years ago. 20. Where are we at? 18 now? I guess it was 2013.
Yeah. How many years did you put in at Vought?
30.
So your granddad put in 35. 35. You put in 30.
Yeah. When Triumph bought them, things started going downhill at Vought. Yeah. They started taking away benefits every year that Vought had given us. One of the things was they cut off our retirement. You could no longer accrue retirement after 30 years.
It didn't help any to keep working.
Right. Huh? You weren't making anything to keep working, so the heck with it. I'll just stop that and then go contract. So I went to California for Boeing and was contracting out there.
So tell me what it means to go contract.
I don't work directly for the company anymore. I work as a contractor to them. So I don't have all the BS of having to go get my butt chewed out because I'm not meeting cost quotas and stuff like that anymore. It just takes a lot of the pressure off of you. It's more of they give me a job, I go take care of it. And so when I went out with Boeing, I was doing supplier support. And I'd already been doing that for years with Vought. So they wound up at the end. That turned out to be the best job I ever had out there because I was living on the boat in Oxnard, and I had 3 suppliers. One in Santa Maria, which was about a 2-hour drive north. One in Long Beach, which was a 2-hour drive south, and one in Rancho Cucamonga, which is 2 hours inland. And I lived right there on the boat, and only time I had to go to a facility was whenever they called and said that they had something they were ready to ship. I had to go certify it, just go take a look at it, make sure it was all the paperwork's correct, stamp it off, and they could ship. So 2 or 3 days a week, I'd drive over, go to the plant. The rest of the time, I worked right there from the boat. And with Boeing, they're the biggest airline manufacturer in the world. Everything's going to be all modern systems. They were still doing all of their paperwork on paper. They had these paper forms that they were filling out for all their defects that they found. So I wrote a software program, and it was taken. And it was all, most of the guys in supplier support out there for Boeing were 65 to 70. They weren't real good on computers, so for them to hand type everything they had written on these sheets into the system, the Boeing system, it was taking them forever. And they all had huge backlogs of it. So they finally just said, I wrote a program where I could do what they were doing and taking them 3 days to type in. I could put it in a couple hours. And so they started just faxing me everything to the boat. And I just stayed on the boat full time then. And all I did was just do the input for them.
That's awesome.
And it worked out great. I take the computer and go sit at the bar right next to the boat. And I've been there working, retiring. It was killing me.
Damn the luck.
Bring me another margarita.
And so what'd you do in Florida? Who sent you to Florida?
I went to Florida with Triumph, which used to be Vought.
Yeah.
Contracted again.
Yeah, contracted, and they had their audit coming up, and so they were needing some help. And I had been at the very end of my career with Vought. I was the auditor for the Marshall Street site where they do all the
Hold on, Gary.
747.
Hold on. All right, we're back on.
I need you a little closer, Gary.
We got a UPS delivery guy came, but they gave everybody, Gary and Mary, time to get a beer. So maybe the conversation will liven up as we go along.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Beefy quit.
Pretty dry. Mine is more for my adventures are best seen through the pictures on Facebook.
Yeah.
When I can put pictures of them up there, it's a lot better than me talking about it.
I figured are you public or are you private on Facebook?
I semi-private. I mean, it's only friends of friends can see
You
it.
want a picture of your Facebook?
No.
All right.
I had a bunch of people on there. I had to get off of it.
All right. Well, the next thing I want to get into before we get into the sailing, I want to get into sailing, but there's a memory I have. Didn't you go up after Mount St. Helens erupted or something like that? Tell that story.
Okay. 1980 is when St. Helens erupted, and I had gotten out of school, out of UTA for the summer, and I had been working at Owens Corning out here during the summers. And that summer, they didn't need any more help. They were in a layoff mode, and Granny's brother RC was working on a drilling rig, taking core samples out of Mount St. Helens, and she was talking to him on the phone, and he said, "Well, he could use some help on the drill rig up there." They were fixing to have to hire another a water guy to drive the water truck. So hey, that sounds like fun. So I went and threw my bags together and jumped in the car, and I drove up to Washington.
Yeah.
And went to work. We were taking core samples right out of the base of the mountain. I was up there for like 6 of the eruptions. It was pretty crazy.
Well, describe the eruption.
We're sitting there at the rig working, and all of a sudden you feel the ground start shaking a little bit, and you look up, and then this big mushroom cloud's coming out of the top of the mountain. We were all down around the base of it. We were up on the logging roads. We had to go up the logging roads to get up to where we were taking the samples. But we were a pretty good piece out into nowhere, and that thing would go off, and we'd all have to go jump in the truck and get out of there as fast as we could. And by the time you get back down to the main road, I mean, it was just pitch black. You couldn't see 10 feet in front of the truck on the highway. And we had oxygen masks and stuff in the truck that we'd have to put on if it got too thick. So
y'all were working during the eruption.
Oh yeah.
What were you taking the soil samples for?
It was the geology department was taking core samples out of the base of it to try to just get information about the mountain.
Whether or not it was going to erupt or not?
Yeah, well, it already erupted, yeah. But we were drilling 5,000 or 6,000 feet deep and doing it diagonally down into the magma and stuff. And we'd come out with these glowing red samples that would come out of that thing, and they'd have to shoot them with some kind of chemical to get them to cool down, to super cool them back down so they wouldn't melt the drill stem. And we were using diamond head drills. It was pretty interesting work. I'd drive the truck and have to go down, and all the rivers, when the mountain first erupted, all the rivers filled up with the silt. And so I'd have to go down to way down below and go down with a shovel and dig out a hole in the river, and there'd still be water down in there. And then I'd drop the hose in it and fill up the water truck and bring it back up to the rig so they could pump the water down in the hole.
So you're just getting water out of the river.
Yeah. It was a fun time. And that's when I really fell in love with sailing. Was we'd work 10 days on, get 4 days off, and we'd go on the 4 days off, I'd go up to Seattle and hang out, and went down where like the people living on the boats down in Seattle Harbor on Lake Washington and stuff. Really neat. I mean, they made houseboats, and they had them all tied together. There's just whole communities of them, And these would be a regular house. I mean, it'd be a 800 square foot house sitting on a big old pontoon out there, and they'd have AstroTurf out on the fronts of it to make it look like little yards and stuff. It was pretty cool. But I got to see a couple of guys. We wound up getting to know each other, and they had sailboats, and so I went out sailing in the Puget Sound with them a little bit. It was
See some whales, killer whales.
saw a lot of whales. Saw some killer whales on the. I'd ride the ferries there out of Seattle. They have ferries that run all through those islands, and I just get on the ferries and ride all day long. And whenever they come across a pod of whales, the ferries have to stop. They can't interfere with them, so they just stop, and I'd sit there and watch them, and it'd be a pod of orcas go by, and some blues, and humpbacks. It was pretty cool. And I saw a lot of that when I was in California as well.
Well, that's a great segue into your sailing. Tell us, tell us how many sailboats have you owned?
Ooh. I had started off with that blue catamaran. I had a 3-wheeler that I used to ride. No, I had a yellow catamaran was my first boat. I bought that from Steve Wolliver. And Stephen and Alan had that one. And took it out, turned it over about 1 million times trying to figure out how to sail the damn thing. And finally got to where I could sail it without flipping it. And wound up trading it off and got another one, another better little catamaran, and raced it a lot. And we'd get that one, that blue one, we'd get it up on one hull and just I could ride it all the way across Whitney Lake on one hull. It was pretty cool. After the blue one, I wound up getting a 25-foot monohull, a McGregor, one that I could trailer. And that one I took all over the lakes out here at Joe Pool Lake. We were lake champions at Joe Pool for.
That's the one we went out on.
Yeah. We got to tell that story.
Oh,
we can't let that story
that one
get
was
out of this room.
A drunk misadventure on that one.
All right, well, this is when I got out of law school in '93. I had a boat that I bought with my tow money when I lost my toes. And so when I went to work for my dad's firm, and I wanted to still live next to the lake. I was doing a lot of fishing, so we rented a house out there by Joe Pool Lake. We were within a mile of was it Lynn Creek or
Lynn Creek Marina?
We were within a mile. Lynn Creek Marina, a mile or two. And I did, got to do a lot of fishing and stuff. But Gary kept that 25-foot McGregor. Is that what you said? He kept it in the water on Joe Pool at this time. And so after work one afternoon, Kevin and Gary show up with a bottle of whiskey.
Wait. What do you mean Kevin and Gary showed up? You and Kevin showed up at the boat. I was at the boat. And y'all brought and it was a big old bottle of vodka. It wasn't whiskey.
Was it vodka? Well, my memory's important.
I remember this.
All right. Yeah. Were you sleeping on the boat at that time?
I was spending the week out there.
Yeah.
Because I was had been working a lot of hours, and I wound up just staying a week out on the boat.
That's all right. So it was vodka.
Yeah.
I was thinking whiskey. It was vodka. What were we drinking?
Huh? We were drinking it straight.
We weren't drinking it with
I think we started off. I think we had grapefruit juice and 7-Up to start with. We ran out of that, and we were taking just big old tugs off that bottle.
Didn't we have beef jerky?
Oh yeah, I'm sure we did.
Was that a different time? You don't remember?
That's a different room.
This was 93 or 94. But we get on the boat. It's late in the afternoon, and and this is the first time I'd ever really sailed, and he's taking us out there, showing us this stuff. We sailed around the point, and he's showing me how to keep the wind in the sail. And so, how many sails were on that boat?
That one just had the mainsail and the jib, just 2 sails on it.
And keeping the wind in the sail, how to turn and how to sail upwind, and you showed us all kinds of stuff that day. It was pretty neat.
As he was sitting on the back of the boat.
Yeah, it was a there's a lot more work that goes into sailing than what I had ever pictured it was. You're staying busy all the time.
Well, on lake sailing you are. Ocean sailing is a totally different kind of sailing. But lake sailing, yeah, you're always having to turn because you just can't go very far without having to switch direction.
All right, so of course we drank vodka, I guess it was. I'm not sure, but and so it's getting dark, and we're coming back around the point, going to Lynn Creek Marina, and we're hooping and hollering, having a good time, and I'll let Kevin take over from there.
Me and you were doing something in the kitchen, and we looked back, and all we seen were feet flying up in the air. And Gary went off the back of the boat.
The damn captain fell out of the back of the boat.
We got hit with a wind shift, and I was trying to
wind shift.
I was trying to tack the boat. Both of y'all go home. I remember
He
what
might have been
happened.
swinging in the breeze.
I had the tiller in between my legs, and I was trying to tack the boat by myself while y'all were both down below. And when the boat came around through the wind, it hit us hard, and it pushed the boat over. Well, it took me and it threw me off balance, and that tiller popped over and hit my leg and knocked me off balance. Well, I reached out there to grab that handrail, and I missed it. And I went right through the rails.
Speaking of the mic,
I went right through the rails.
So Kevin and I see him fall off the boat, and we just start dying, right? We thought it was funny as hell. And then we we're just laughing and slapping each other, but we're starting to drift away. And we hear Gary start yelling, "Help! Help!"
I couldn't catch up with you.
Yeah.
I couldn't swim and catch up with you. Shit, y'all were just going right on over the lake.
Taking their wallets out and their keys were laughing and giggling.
Oh, man.
The man said, I'll go get him. Grabbed the cushion and dove over.
Yeah, I took a cushion, jumped in the water.
That was the main thing. I wanted y'all to throw me a cushion or something.
Yeah.
Y'all just sitting there laughing.
So I swam right there with Gary in the cushions, and so Kevin was left in the boat. Kevin didn't know how to sail a damn boat.
Still don't know how.
So me and Gary stuck out in the middle of the Joe Pool with it getting dark, and Kevin's drifting across the lake in the damn.
I managed to drift right into the only group of trees that were on that side of the lake. And all the lines of them sails were hung up in them tree limbs.
Yeah.
I had the little motor out trying to get it started. I knew I could operate it then if I could get it going. That guy come chugging up.
Yeah.
And we got him. We got him. I said, I got two in the water. I got two. And I hear him laughing.
Yeah, we were kicking, both of us kicking on that damn pad. The one side of the cushion. Yeah, one side was closer, but it was the upwind. You would have to swim against the waves.
Yeah.
So we were going downwind toward Kevin, and I done made up my mind that if Gary started going down, he was on his own. Yeah, I'd done all I could to help him at that point. I was worried about me getting out of the middle of that damn lake in the dark. And then this pontoon boat or something. Was it a pontoon boat
that came over and saw
us. Gary started yelling in that deep voice, and they come picked us up in the middle of the Joe Pool in the dark.
Carried us over there.
They carried us over to Kevin.
And those were my sailing days.
Yeah. Kevin, give up sailing.
Never been back.
I stay over here on shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, my boat had a motor on it.
That one was
point that thing in one direction and go that way.
That one definitely was a misadventure on that one.
All right, so what'd you do after that? After the boat that we fell out of?
Well, I wound up. The kids and I took that around. We would go to Lake Ray Hubbard, Lake Lavon, and Joe Pool on the weekends and race every weekend. And finally decided I wanted a bigger boat, so bought a 27-foot from another guy there and put it on a trailer and carried it down to the ocean, carried it down to Galveston.
What's a 27-foot boat cost?
I think back then I paid about $10,000 for it. It was a Catalina 27, and pulled it down there. Well, actually, I think I pulled it down to Rockport. We went down to Rockport fishing.
Was that when
and I got
stuck in the intercoastal?
Yeah, I got stuck in the intercoastal down there. That damn ship washed me up on the shore. Took me all day to dig that damn boat out of the mud to get it back afloat. I went up the one channel of the Intercoastal. I thought it was the Intercoastal. It was a cut right there by Corpus Christi. And I thought it was the Intercoastal. It looked like it. Well, the Intercoastal was the next cut back up. But this one went down, and I can't remember the name of that little town. But anyway, there was like an iron smelt down at the end of this thing. And I went down it for a ways, and then it just started getting so shallow I couldn't go through it. So I had to turn around, coming back out. Well, there's a ship bringing iron ore into that smelter down there. And I'll be damned, I got off on the side over there, and I was waiting for him to get by, so because it was kind of narrow. And his bow wave hits me and just goes, and stuck me right on the leg in the mud. And so I'm out there with my anchor, I took my dinghy and take the anchor way out. I'd drop it in, take it back to the boat, winch on it.
Trying to pull you out.
Trying to pull me out. A couple of guys came by in a fishing boat. They tried to pull me out, couldn't get me out. And then finally, about 6 hours later, the tide came up enough that it floated me again. And then I just went off and gone. But I took that boat out offshore. And another guy from Whitney, Jay, was a buddy. He's the one that sailed from South Carolina with me back to Galveston. But we took it offshore, and we got caught in some rough weather and started sailing coming back into Galveston Harbor. And we were had these big waves rolling up behind us. And we were hauling butt coming off the face of those waves. And all of a sudden, crack, and it snapped the tiller. Or they actually snapped the rudder. The rudder just poop, and it was split off like that.
You couldn't steer then.
No, we had a hard time at that point. We wound up taking just a couple of aluminum poles that I had on, and we pulled that rudder up and took rope and duct tape and tried to stiffen it up with that, and then took the sails and had put them way down, and we just tried to ease our way back in. We got back into Galveston after midnight. And so I figured, well, if I'm going to be out there on the ocean sailing, I need a bigger boat than this.
Yeah.
So I just moved up again and bought an old 30-foot Morgan. And I had it down in Kima for, I guess 5-6 years. And from there I moved up to, I sailed it around all over the Galveston area. And then when I went out to Charleston in 2002,
Did you sail up there? Did you buy?
No, I bought
it out there.
I bought another boat out there, an Erickson 36.
Getting bigger.
Yep, it was getting bigger every time, and I lived on it in Charleston Harbor while I was working for Vought out there.
And how long did you live on the boat?
Lived on it for 2 years there in Charleston Harbor, and then.
Did you have a car?
Sailed it around.
Yep.
Sailed it around and came back.
Yep.
With that boat.
Sailed it through
they
the
transferred
Keys?
me. They transferred me back to Dallas, so I sailed it down the East Coast, went through the Keys, and spent way too much time in Key West. Great, way too much.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah. Can't imagine that.
What'd you do with your car? To sell it?
No, Justin flew out, and he and I drove my Jeep back to Texas, and then I flew back out and got on the boat.
Yeah, sailed it.
And sailed it.
Now, one time you were telling me that you have to have a certain captain's license to.
Yeah, he's not done upgrading yet. He's not on his last boat.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think I might be. This may be the last one.
Well, this is Captain Ron. This is his Captain Ron boat now.
all right. Captain Rod.
Yeah, but if you're gonna do commercial, you have to have a 6-pack license at least. And if you have more than 6 people,
6-pack.
it's called a 6-pack. That's for like tour boats that take up to 6 people out.
I had a 6-pack license since I was in the 3rd grade.
6-pack.
Then you upgraded again.
Yeah, you upgraded again.
Upgraded
this one.
to this one. It's a 42.
42 foot.
Yeah, Mariner. catch.
A sailing
This
yacht.
this one is a blue water boat. This is the first time I've had a true ocean going boat.
So
The
this is a yacht.
yeah.
Is it anything over 41 foot considered a yacht?
You just barely got there.
I got
hey,
there.
Hey,
Well, actually-
hey, but every inch counts.
Yeah, that's right.
Amen.
All right. Let's stick with the boat.
Actually, I'm 46 foot with the bowsprit.
46.
If I count that bowsprit, I'm 46 foot.
Yeah.
Only 42 at the deck.
All right. Well, tell them about that boat. This is your current boat.
That's the current boat.
This is the one that's up on blocks in Mexico.
No, he said,
I left it in the water.
I thought he took it out of the water.
I was trying to find a marina to pull it out, but the keel it's got an 8-foot keel on it, and none of the marinas had a lift that could lift anything more than a 6-foot keel. So I wound up just having to leave it there in the marina.
All right. So you're 46-foot yacht. Yeah. So what? You had it out in California.
I bought it in California, and I'd been working on it for I was living on it there in Oxnard, Channel Islands Harbor, and
For how long?
3 years, and working on it, getting it ready to go, and then my contract was coming due. I'd take it out, and the Channel Islands are right off the coast of California. Really, a lot of neat sailing grounds out there, so I'd go out and sail by myself. Just go out to the islands, drop the anchor, go in and hike up the mountains and stuff.
How do
Really
you
cool.
get from the sailboat to the island? You
On the
swim?
dinghy, it had
Got a
little 8-foot inflatable or 6-foot inflatable.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, got davits on the back of it, so I can just raise it up, and it hangs right there at the back of the boat.
You can look at his, you got some pictures. The few times I've looked on Facebook, you got some neat pictures of being like hiking a trail down there in Mexico and looking out, and his boat's anchored out in the middle of the.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah,
I've
very
seen those.
cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You feel like you're exploring and your boat's out in the.
Yeah, I'm like, man, did you swim that far?
Yeah.
And what's the name of your boat?
the
Rosalie.
Rosalie.
That's his mom. That's Kevin and Gary's mama's name. That's a whole different extra usual story.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the Rosalie.
I sailed around out in California for about 3 years, working on it and getting it ready, and then my contract came up with Boeing. It was coming to an end. They were getting ready to renew it. I told them, don't renew it because I'm leaving. And I wound up headed out, I guess, about mid-January when I finally left Oxnard and sailed out to Catalina Island and stayed a few days out there. And then from Catalina, went to San Diego, and then Justin flew into San Diego.
Justin's your son. He's
The
the one
youngest.
working for Vought, you said?
Yep. And
Or Triumph.
Triumph.
Yeah. Same place, different name.
But he met me in San Diego, and then we shot out of there and headed the next day and headed for Mexico. Came in at Ensenada, just below.
Wait a minute. I want to put up a map of Mexico.
Okay.
So you walk us through it.
Like the Sea of Cortez.
So that's on the Pacific.
So what do I need to search for on Google Maps?
Baja, California.
Yeah.
Uh,
So when you're going on, how many days are you out and you hadn't even seen land?
We did. We'd go out for like 3-day runs. There you go.
Because I'm never going anywhere where I can't see land.
Yeah, we were
I think I'd get sick.
about 100 miles out a couple of times.
all right. So this is San Diego. So this is Baja. You're coming down.
Yep.
So where's Ensenada?
Ensenada is just below Tijuana. If it
Go in some.
Yeah. There it is, right there.
All right. So you went from San Diego to Ensenada.
Yeah, I started out up above Los Angeles at about halfway between Santa Barbara
Santa
and
Maria.
LA is Oxnard.
There it is, Oxnard.
All
Yeah.
right, there's the Channel Islands.
Yeah.
And so I started off in Oxnard,
Yeah.
sailed from there to Catalina. That was an overnight sail. We left about 4 in the afternoon out of Oxnard and sailed all night and got to Catalina the next morning, probably about 9 o'clock.
So tell me, when you're sailing all night, does it have like an autopilot?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, you get the sail, ocean sailing is a lot easier than lake sailing because you get basically you get to get it set, get the sail set up, turn the autopilot on, and that will keep the boat on that heading. Now, if the wind changes direction, you may have to adjust the sail some during the night, but the autopilot will keep the boat pointed on whatever point of sail you had it on.
So it'll keep the rudder going that way?
Yeah, it'll turns the rudder and just keeps the boat pointed the direction you want.
Did any of your other boats have autopilot?
The one that I came from Charleston back to Galveston did. The Erickson, it had an autopilot on it.
But still, you're not running across any other craft out there.
Oh yeah.
You got to maneuver around them. It's
Well,
not going to.
that's why you have people that's why it was always better to have people on with you to keep watch. Because at night you'd have ships coming through, and then the further we got down into the Baja, you had fishing boats everywhere out there. Them Mexicans out there fishing at night, and they didn't have any lights on their damn boats. I mean, I nearly run into a couple of them because it would get a little, you'd get right up on top of them, and then finally you'd hear them hollering at you, and they'd take a little lantern and swing it back and forth to show you where they were at. But it was about a day sail from Oxnard to Catalina. Then I stayed in Catalina for a couple of days. That's a neat little place. If you haven't been out to Catalina Island, you need to go there. It's a lot of fun.
Solomon talked about it.
Yeah.
So people living there and everything?
Yeah, there are a lot of people that live out there.
There is? I thought it was just like a seal sanctuary.
No, like Avalon right there on that.
Avalon. You found Avalon.
There it is.
Shit.
There's one in every state.
Yeah.
That's where their dad's from, is Avalon. All the Helms families grew up in Avalon.
Yeah.
Like Italy's Italy, Avalon's Avalon. There's only two syllables.
Yeah, that's Avalon.
That's Avalon.
That's like out of King Arthur.
Yeah, they have all kinds of like film festivals. I was out there once when they were having a film festival. They have a great big.
Move the mic over in front of you, kind of off to the side.
They have a big pavilion out there, and then the whole town is nothing but bars and restaurants.
Oh man!
I thought it was just like a sanctuary.
No,
I didn't know
that's what
lived on Canada.
Now the Channel Islands. If you go back up, the Channel Islands back out right outside of Oxnard, that is a sanctuary. There's nothing out there but wildlife.
Channel Islands National Park?
Yep. Nobody lives out there. It used to be a ranch, but the guy that, when he died, he turned it over to the federal government to make a national park out of it. And so there's some indigenous, what they call it, the Channel Islands fox. It's a fox that's only found there, no place else in the world.
Wow.
So how far across is it? What's the mileage?
The size of the island? Santa Cruz, which is I think that's the biggest one of them. It was about maybe 3 miles long. So it's probably 3 miles long and maybe a mile wide.
How far out is it?
It was, you could see the islands.
You
I've got pictures sitting at the bar there in Oxnard, and you could see the islands from there. So it was about 20 miles out across that channel to get out to them. And then the further you go out, like Santa Rosa, I've gone out to it once. It gets a little hairy out there. You're starting to get into a lot rougher water. And then this farthest one, I can't remember what the name of it was, but you only go San Miguel. You only go out there at certain times of the year because it just gets so rough. And then they've got there's a Point Conception right there where it says Conception. That's where the SEAL training grounds are, because that's some of the roughest water in the world right out in that area because it's coming from different directions. And I mean, it gets really hairy.
Talking about the Navy SEALs now.
Yeah.
Remember when we went to Hawaii and we rented that sailboat and they told us not to go between the two islands. The first thing we headed to was right between the islands. And man, it was just like there was a wind tunnel or something. I mean, it washed me across the boat. It was violent.
We're hard headed.
Oh man,
The Browns.
hard to believe that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's like a beeline. Y'all don't go in between those islands. We went straight over there.
All right, so you got down to
Got to Catalina,
Catalina.
then stayed there for a day, and then headed to San Diego.
All right.
Then we headed out about 4. I did a lot of trips. We would head out in the afternoon, and then that way we would get into port during the daylight hours the next day, because I didn't like coming to the new ports at night. You just don't know. You can't see a lot, and they don't look like the charts a lot of time.
Well, tell them a little bit. You were telling me one time about the harbor masters and what do you got to do when you check into a new port and how that all works out.
Well, at Ensenada, you had to come into the marina, and then they take you up to immigration and naturalization immigration. And when I got there, Justin and Jacqueline, the two that were with me, they got checked in, and I checked in, and then we went to check the boat in, and the guy that had the boat before me didn't check the boat out of Mexico the last time that he left.
He just ran.
Yeah. So he just went straight back to the States, and so they would not let me check the boat back in. So what I had to do was I had to check the boat out. I had to check back out, and then we left and went down on the boardwalk and ate and saw the town, and then the next day had to go back and check the boat in again and check me back in. So they hit me for an extra $100.
Yeah,
that's what they did basically. But at first the guy was wanting to make me leave to sail back to the U.S. And the guy that came with me from the marina, he talked him into it. Plus, I gave him an extra $50, so that went another $50. A little bit of money goes a long ways down there. But we finally got everything squared away with the boat, and then the next day we headed out of there.
Ensenada.
Yep. That's a neat little town. It was just a little port city. Maybe, I don't know, probably 3,000 or 4,000 people live there. And the only thing they had going for them is a lot of fishing boats because they had a port in there. And that's the first point where you can check into Mexico for people coming from Canada and the U.S. So they all come in there to do their check-in. And once you get checked into the country, they give you these papers, and you got to keep that in case the Navy stops you anywhere checking you out.
Mexican Navy.
Mexico has a Navy?
That's what I said. I didn't know. I never heard of it.
Most of the naval vessels were like 18-foot plywood boats.
Come up smoking.
Yeah.
Asking you if you got jumper cables.
Backfire
I guess that's racist.
Well, did at any point in these ventures you ever feel unsafe out there on the water? No pirates, nothing like that?
I have not had any problems out on the water. We've had a couple of the fishermen would approach us, but they just basically wanted a beer. Yeah, they'd trade you some lobsters, a couple of lobsters for a beer, or some fish.
Yeah.
And
you came out on the better end of that.
Yeah, no kidding. I keep an extra case of Bud Light up in the front, and they love Bud Light. I mean, that to them, that's the best beer there is.
Yeah. All right, Ensenada. Where'd you go next?
So we pulled out of Ensenada, and at that point, I guess we had picked up Mark by then. Mark was a Canadian that we came across. We met him right outside the entrance of Ensenada.
Yeah, we're still going.
And his boat was a piece of junk. And he had sailed that thing from Canada all the way down there by himself.
Wow.
And he got down there, and all of his instrumentation quit working. He didn't have GPS. He didn't have anything. He didn't have lights on the boat. And so he wanted to know if he could follow us, because he didn't have any way of getting, because he was going on down to San Blas, Mexico, and then he was going to put the boat up for sale when he got down there. And so he came out of there. We came out of there together, and he followed us. And from there we went to Turtle Bay, which we sailed right down this area here. We were about, I think at this point we were about 100 miles offshore because there was no wind. The entire ocean was nothing but glass, so we were just having the motor. And it looked like on the weather maps that there was some breeze the further you got out. So we went out, I guess almost 100 miles, and never did really find a good breeze. We got a little bit, but not a whole lot. So we were just pretty much motoring most of this way.
Keep your wind in the sails. That's got a whole new meaning.
Yep. And
no, I think that's actual.
That's the actual meaning. That's the literal meaning.
You got to keep wind in the sails.
Yeah, keep your wind in the sails.
But we went out. It was about. I think we were on a 3-day jump at this time. When we went offshore, going down a little bit further.
He's working his way to Cabo. You know that, right?
Cabo.
Yeah. Okay. Go back up. Oh wait, what that said? Bahia Tortugas down there. Okay, there's Turtle Bay. All right, that's where we came in. We went all that way and came in there at Bahia Tortugas.
From here to here?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to go
that was 3 days.
3 days to go from Ensenada to Bahia Tortugas.
Yeah. And
Bahia is bay?
It's Turtle Bay is what it's.
Bahia Bay?
Bahia is Bay, yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Bahia Tortugas. And it's come in there and it's a little bitty town. That was so neat coming in there and dropping anchor. There was us and maybe 6 other boats in there that were mostly U.S. and Canadians. And they were just living down there because it's so cheap to live. And we pulled in at night, anchored out, we got there late in the afternoon and anchored out. And then the next morning, got to put the dinghy down, got all of our clothes and stuff, and went up. We were going to go try to find a laundromat and a grocery store. Well, as soon as the dinghy lands on shore, this Mexican guy's out there. Yes, come with me. He said, my sister, she will do your laundry. My wife, she will cook food. We have showers.
Man.
He said, I will give you fuel and take it out to your boat. I mean, he was one-stop shopping. He had his finger in everything down there. So
he's watching for you.
Yeah.
How much did his service cost?
It wasn't bad. I mean, this lady did 2 big old sail bags full of laundry, and I think she charged us $2.50.
Oh,
so I gave her a $5 tip.
Yeah.
And then we had lobster and steak.
Oh man, roughing it.
And it was like $5 for a lobster. They were going out there and catching the lobsters in the bay right in there, and they'd bring them up fresh. You see them bringing a big old, like a laundry basket.
Oh man.
Beer was 50 cents for Modelo's and, Corona.
I'm surprised you left.
If the boat hadn't broke,
Yeah.
if the transmission had went out on the boat, it might still be.
Yeah, we stayed there, and we went walking through town. I got some pictures on Facebook of it, of walking through the town's all dirt streets. They had a little bitty school, a little bitty fire department, and there's probably 200 or 300 people there live there. When the sun went down, the lights go off.
Yeah.
They don't have
roll up the streets.
Yep, they have just a generator is all they had to get their powers and for the place. And
so no electricity, just a generator.
Just a generator, a big old diesel generator.
Uh-huh.
It was a cool experience coming in there, and we stayed there for 2 or 3 days, and then decided to head on down to Magdalena Bay.
What is punta in Spanish, man?
Point.
Punta.
Yeah, punta. You're thinking puta. Puta's whore.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the one.
If you take out the end, it's whore. Punta. But punta is point, I think.
Yep, that's it.
And
then our next stop was Puerto San Carlos.
I hear.
We actually didn't. Well, we wound up having to get towed to San Carlos, but we went to Magdalena Bay. That's the big bay just below San Carlos. If you go running the big bay right in below there,
right here,
that's Magdalena Bay. we came in there, and like right over here where these two lower islands meet, there's a little town. If you go up toward Port of San Carlos, oh, come back down. No.
Right here.
Yep. Go down a little bit further, right there where the two islands meet. Yeah, it's like they don't even have it on the map. It's so little, but it's right there. See where that makes the jog in?
Yeah.
We had to come through that opening and came back up, and then right in there's a little town that we're coming up on this, and it's nothing but mountains. They've got no way of getting back to the mainland from any of that.
It's up here, maybe.
Kind of that just above that green area, right there,
here?
right in there. That's where the town is, and they had pictures on the wall of we're pulling up. We're sailing up there. There's like 3 other boats in there, and Justin's going, damn, they got cars running up or pickups out there running up down that beach. And we got in. There's a little tiki bar right there on the beach, and they had pictures of it. How they got those trucks out there. They took 2 of those damn boats and put boards across them, and drove the pickups up on the boats, and drove those boats from the mainland from San Carlos way up the river. It was like 60 miles up there, and drove them down there to the beach. But this was just a little fishing village.
Huh.
And when we got ready to leave there, we had a problem. The engine wouldn't crank. I had a fuel line that had gotten clogged up. I couldn't get the thing to crank, so I had a Mexican guy towed us with his fishing boat up to Puerto San Carlos. And that's where that was quite an experience, because we got there and there was a mechanic supposed to meet us. Well, his car he didn't have a car. So we had to drive to some town back up
You want to
inland.
pause a minute? You need to go to the bathroom? Yeah, we can pause. Well, go ahead and tell the story. I want to pause. You want a restroom break?
Might as well.
I can pause it here. All right. And pocket use the restroom. All right, we're live, back live. Everyone had powdered their nose and they refilled their beers and beverages. All right, so we were stuck.
We were in Magdalena Bay, I think, when we cut off. And that's a big whale breeding ground. That's why I wanted to go up in there. But we saw, I guess, 2 whales as we came in through that entrance.
Right here?
Yeah.
What kind of whales?
The ones we saw were grays. Now, I've seen blue whales and I've seen some humpbacks on the way down, but those were the gray whales that we saw there.
You gotta hold your breath too long to breathe with them whales. Whale breathing is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got ready to leave one
I
morning.
don't know quite how to respond to that.
I'm not going swimming with the damn thing, I'll tell you that.
You see any sharks and stuff?
The only shark when Justin and I jumped in the water there when we first got to Magdalena Bay, and because it was hot during the day, it got up in the 90s, and we jumped off the boat, was swimming around out there, and then Jacqueline, the third person we had on the boat with us, she got to looking on the internet. She said, "Y'all might want to look at this," and she was showing me they had caught the largest great white shark on the Baja right there at that little fishing village that we were anchored off of. And they had used a pickup and drug that thing up on shore. It was like 22 feet long.
While y'all were there?
No, they'd already done it.
Yeah.
But the picture was on the internet. And I'm going, Justin, I don't think we want to swim out here anymore.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Where'd you see the whale shark?
The whale shark was in La Paz. La Paz.
No, you hadn't gotten us to La Paz.
No, we hadn't got to La Paz yet. No, we
That's our new dog, the dude. I think I'm gonna call him Imp or Impulse. All right.
We wound up having some engine problems, and we got one of the locals to tow us up to Puerto San Carlos, which was the closest place that had a mechanic that could work on diesels.
I know Vance has fished with us all over these years, and it's hard to believe that us Helms would have a boat that had engine problems.
Yeah, we've already talked about him having to take aluminum poles and strap them to the rudder and fall in.
Out there hitting the starter with a hammer.
Yeah,
That's it.
Everything keeps overheating.
Hey, adversity makes the trip.
That's it. Well, we wound up getting towed up to Puerto San Carlos, and the mechanic that was coming to meet us there they called him El Chapo.
Oh man!
I'm leery of this guy from the minute they tell me El Chapo's going to come meet us.
No.
I'm good.
All right.
Just keep towing.
But the old man, I tell you what, that dude was a whiz with an old diesel engine. He knew right. It took him 2 minutes. Once he got on the boat, he went right to it.
He was the boss.
Oh, I tell you, and he wound up. I had on the diesels, the fuel lines are steel tubes. Well, he wound up he broke him off a piece of hacksaw blade, went over, cut that tube out, and took some tubing and clamped it over it, and I'm still running off of that.
Really?
Yeah.
How much did he charge you for that?
He charged me about $35 to fix it.
Oh man!
The fun part about that whole trip, I didn't have any. I was completely out of Mexican cash by this. I didn't bring enough with me, and they didn't have an ATM. They have in Mexico. There's very few ATMs. Because people steal them. They just take them, throw them in the back of the truck, and drive on with them. But we had to get a cab to take us to Ciudad
Oh, I see it up there, way up there.
It had to go up to Constitution.
How far was that?
That was about a 50-mile drive.
Oh man!
And it's out across that whole area down there is nothing but desert. And this he's got a low tire, and the other 3 tires
took 3 hours.
Ball at the top of that desk.
Hey, those are better in the sand.
Yeah. You're on that road all the way down there. You saw crosses on the side of the road. There were never 100 feet because it was a little narrow road, and then on the side of it was a bar ditch. It was about 20 feet deep.
Yeah.
They had to be running off that road like crazy. But we had to go over there and get cash, and then come back, pay him, and then we headed out late in the evening, and finally got back out of the bay just as it was getting dark. And from there, our next stop was going to be Cabo San Lucas.
How long did it take you to get down to Cabo?
It took us 3 more days to get to Cabo. We were 100 miles offshore right here, and came down and turned that corner at Cabo, and all hell broke loose. That was the worst part of the trip so far.
Right here at the point?
Yeah, we were there out to just to the left of there. That Monte Cabo, right out from there, they've got the water's about 4,000 feet deep.
Damn.
And they've got spires that are sticking up about 2,000 feet. That's where all the really good fishing grounds are, but it makes for really rough water because of the way the currents of the ocean come in through there, and they hit those spires, and it shoots the water up. And we were in 15-foot waves, and they were right on top of each other, and they were coming from the north and from the west, so we were getting hit in both directions. And that part of the trip really sucked bad.
Did you get sick?
I didn't, but Justin and Jacqueline both did.
Yeah.
And Justin wound up, he was sitting there.
Now, who is Jacqueline?
Jacqueline was another person
Is this
that came
why
up.
we lost our fishing place?
No, she just came along because she races on boats up in Oxnard, and she's trying to get her 6-pack license, and she wants to be on a Trans-Pacific race to Hawaii. So she needed long sea time.
Yeah.
So she came along to do that. I just got introduced to her up in Oxnard right before I left because I was going to do it by myself. And some people on the dock said, "Hey, we got a friend that wants to get some sea time. If you want another person to keep watch. So she came along, she did pretty good.
Was she good looking?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
Correct answer is yes.
Yes. All right.
She's got to be brave to get on a damn boat to go out in the ocean with two with an old man and a young boy.
Yeah.
He's not a young boy anymore.
How old Justin?
Justin's 28.
Yeah, 28. I was still, my eyes were still pretty clear.
Where are they?
Not like now.
Not like that.
Fine.
But Justin got sick, she got sick, so I was up all night long with driving the boat, and then finally, I guess it's about 10 o'clock, came into Cabo San Lucas, and everybody was exhausted, and once we got into the dock, we went up. First place we saw was Senor Frogs. Was right there by the dock. Said, I'm gonna go have a beer. So we went up and had a couple of drinks. Well, shit started feeling pretty good. And we walked down the boardwalk a little bit, had a bite to eat, wound up going over to Cabo Wabo. Started feeling real good. Hell, we were up for another day and a half.
Where's Cabo Wabo?
It's right there. Like you see where the square part of the marina is.
Oh,
there it is, Cabo Wabo Cantina.
Right there.
Yeah. That's Sammy Hagar's place.
4.3. Did you drink some tequila there?
I drank. He's got some really good. The Cabo Wabo tequila is really good. It's smooth, and you can buy it up here.
Yeah. How long did you stay in Cabo?
We stayed in Cabo, I think 3 days. And then while we were there, Jacqueline, we took her to the airport. She got on a plane and flew back. Justin and I came out of there, and then we sailed up to San Jose del Cabo, just up the road there. That was just a 1-day sail. We went up there, and I was watching the weather reports because the winds were coming strong out of the north down the Sea of Cortez. So we were going to wait for the winds to abate, and so we stayed in San Jose del Cabo for about a week, and finally headed out of there and turned that corner and started going up and got into another shit show with wind and big waves. That lasted about 12 hours, and then about 2 in the morning it just went down to glass again, and we were at that point up by Los Barriles.
Yeah,
we were about right there when the storm, when all the wind quit blowing, and then we were able to just motor sail inside Ala Cerralvo, and then up to Espiritu Santos. We come through that cut, and then down to La Paz. We got there late in the afternoon.
And this is where you lost your boat here at La Paz?
I lost it?
Well,
still there.
It's still in La Paz, right?
Right.
How long has it been since you've laid eyes on it?
July the 2nd.
So we're talking 2 months?
2 months. I'm going back next Tuesday to check on it.
Well, your boat's probably, back up here in Your boat's been sailing the whole time you've been gone.
Yeah, I've got that marina I'm at there's about 100 expats in there, and I've got one of the mechanics, the U.S. guy that worked on the transmission for me. He keeps an eye on it. He goes over and checks on it, make sure the batteries are charged, and goes down.
El Chapo's watching it.
Yeah. But
so what does expat mean?
Expatriate, it's just a person that's living abroad. If you're an American citizen but you live in another country, called expatriated. You're out of your country.
But they're still American.
They're still American citizens, yeah.
That, I read in the Hemingway novels always talk about expats.
Yeah.
And
just Americans that live abroad. And there's a big community of expats there in La Paz.
Yeah.
You have to. You can stay in the country for 6 months and then you have to leave. Then you can come back in. So, you just have to leave the country for 1 day and then come back in.
Every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
What? And so you've gone down all of Baja and back up into the Gulf of California.
thought that was the Sea of Cortez.
Sea of Cortez is what it's called.
This is the Sea of Cortez.
Yeah, that's also called the Sea of Cortez.
So where, if say Mary and I wanted to go, just fly in and go see hang out somewhere cool, where would we go?
Well,
Cabo.
the biggest
Cabo.
airport is going to be Cabo San Lucas. That's the biggest international airport. La Paz has got an airport, but to fly there from here, you have to fly to Mexico City, and it's always a 24-hour flight because you have to go to Mexico City, and it's about a 8-hour layover, and then they'll take you to La Paz.
Hell, Texas is right there.
I know it, but there's no direct flights from Texas to La Paz. They're all connections into Mexico City, so you can fly straight on American. That's what I'm doing.
Where's Mexico City?
A little bit further down.
There it is. There. So you got to go way down here and then go back up to La Paz.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's a long flight. So I just fly to Cabo and I rent a car and then I drive back up to La Paz. It's about a 2-hour drive.
And then they let you leave the car in La Paz?
Well, no, I'll keep it because I'm only going to be down there for 4 days. I just want to check on the boat. I've got a lady that's doing some repair on my sails, and I've got that mechanic that worked on the transmission. I'm going to get him started on the autopilot. I want him to rebuild it, and then I'll come back. And then that little Todos Santos right there, Justin and I have stopped there several times. That's where Hotel California is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's where the Eagles.
You can check out, but you can never leave.
Yeah. We stopped there, and that was really cool. And they got sued. There's a thing on the web that shows they got sued by the Eagles because of, but they were Hotel California for 50-something years, way before the Eagles ever formed. But they were selling apparently Eagles paraphernalia, and so Eagles hit them for copyright infringement.
Yeah.
And there's a thing that Sammy Hagar put up in Cabo Wabo saying that the Eagles came down to Cabo Wabo to play in a concert down there with him. And the Eagles denied that Hotel California is what their song was written about. But Sammy says, they came in, they stayed there at Hotel California the night before, and then drove on down to Cabo San Lucas the next day. And he said that night, once they got to Cabo, they started. He sat down with them and they started writing that song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Had
Sammy
Sammy been drinking at this time?
Oh, I'm sure he had. But I mean, if you go
California was way before.
If you go to Hotel California,
Hotel California was way before he ever had no Cabo Wabo and.
No, the Cabo Wabo's been down there since.
Not his club.
It's been there since 72. 72 or 74.
So he had that before he was with Van
I don't
Halen?
think so.
It says on the wall, it says established 1974.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Somebody
Now,
probably
wait.
owned it. Yeah,
Gary Helms.
Now, wait a minute. We got Google here. We got. Let's see.
Google it, man.
So when was Cabo? It's hard to. Let me watch it land here. It's easy. Cabo Wabo, WBL.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar didn't get big till the 80s.
It wasn't until
But he had bought that just a little island bar down there.
way before that.
Oh, this is saying in 90.
Cabo Wabo.
Well,
Cabo San Lucas was pretty small. Yeah, in 90. Okay.
But maybe somebody else had it before that, so that's what he established.
He had some old pictures, and it was when he first opened it up, it was dirt roads out in front of it, and the place was just it was a shack.
I believe all that, but I don't think he.
It says he first went to Cabo San Lucas in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the town.
Well, there you go.
So he didn't have no money till that Red Rocker album come out.
Red Rock.
Red Rocker driving in my 6.6.
Let's see right here. I'm doing construction. When I started shopping properties, we had.
That was a badass song, man.
Yeah.
Winter was Marco. Happy
Back in the day.
So by the time I first saw the cantina, it was almost completed. It was way too big for Cabo San Lucas, but I like it.
Yeah, it's not right there at the marina. It's about 2 blocks down.
So right here, they came. when I assume total control of the cantina was
1994.
1994. I don't know.
I think you caught Sammy on a good night. He just, yeah, the Eagles come down and we were drinking tequila and getting all tore up.
Oh, Chesney goes down there he's down there all the time. They have a lot of big name groups go down there because, I mean, Cabo is like a Disneyland
You're
for
already saying you're extra
Americans.
usual here. You don't have to do no name dropping.
All right. So what's the plan with the boat?
Well, the boat right now, I'm getting the sails ready and the water maker fixed and taking off. I'm going to attempt to take off in about mid-October. And
Right in the hurricane season.
well, right at the end of it. But I was going to stay, kind of on the outside the inside of the Baja and go up into the Sea of Cortez for a little bit. And then around November, when the waters start cooling off south of there, then turn and go across to the mainland.
I'm sorry, I was still looking. Go ahead.
Go back
keep
to the
talking.
Sea of Cortez. Okay, so
All right. So now what's the plan?
I'm going to leave La Paz and go up to like Loreto, that string of islands right there.
Yeah.
Just kind of island hop all the way up to Loreto.
Okay.
now, are those inhabited?
No, those are all national parks.
Ah, okay.
And then from Loreto,
Why aren't they green?
I don't know.
Okay.
But shoot across to the mainland and then start making my way south at that point.
Copo Labampo?
Yeah, I don't know what all those. I've got a cruising guide. I figure I'll come in.
Puerto Vallarta.
Yep.
What do you call that? The Mexican swirl up one side of the Baja and down
the Mexican
down
swirl.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
We got to call it something.
But I'll start making my run south. I want to stop at Zihuatanejo.
Come back
Down
to the
there.
earring and one ear.
Yeah.
Oh, this one here?
Yeah. That's the guy from Shawshank Redemption. That's where he escaped and went down to.
Oh yeah,
to Zihuatanejo.
Yeah, that's right.
And everybody says everybody I've talked to says that it's a really neat little town. So I thought I might stop off there and hang out.
Where you gonna meet back up with El Chapo again?
I won't see El Chapo again because he's way back up on the Baja. This is going down the mainland now.
So how long would it take you to get to Guatemala?
I'm not going to stop at Guatemala. I'm going to pass El Salvador and Guatemala,
Nicaragua,
and then I'm going to may stop in Nicaragua, just because there was a guy that helped me. He owned a parts store out in California, and he owns a place right on the beach in Nicaragua. And he said he's going to be down there all of the month of November, and if I'm in that area then to come in, and he would take me and show me around the area. I thought if I get there by November, I'll go check him out.
Are you doing it by yourself?
Parts of it. I got friends that are going to come do part of it with me, and then Justin's going to fly down and meet me in Panama and go through the canal with me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then
you gotta stop in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I was planning on stopping in Costa Rica, and then from there, my next stop would be getting right into Panama City. I believe it was.
You've been to Costa Rica, ain't you?
Yeah, I went down to Costa Rica. Well, I guess it's been 3 years ago now.
That's cool. I spent a month in Costa Rica in college.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool.
I was more in the center of the country. I didn't get out by the beach. I flew into San Jose and just stayed.
I've been to this Monteverde. That's like up in the mountain hippie area.
Oh, okay.
Expat you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
So I went to San Jose, and we went to forget volcano up in here somewhere.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some big volcano up there.
might have been in this national park, but up here north of San Jose. We went to Limon and Tortuguero, and then
There's those national parks. Didn't you go in the jungle?
yeah, right here off Monteverde. We went into where was it? Monteverde. That was pretty cool right here. We went into the rainforest here off of in Monteverde and up in there.
Okay.
It was cool. And then
Was
we
like a Jan term thing?
yeah, it was for a month we studied it was volcanoes, rainforests and
I remember
turtles or something.
your dad always talking about that.
Yeah, and so
Like, we went to
What kind of
Hawaii
class
for a
was
month.
It was a hell of a class.
At Austin College, they had Jan terms.
yeah,
I went to Hawaii for a month. You go from August to December, and then the month of January is fall.
Oh,
it's
And
just
then you go
one
February
month,
to May.
1 month, one class.
wow.
One
And you
month.
take whatever you want.
Take
The funny
music.
And they
thing,
recommend that you do something that has nothing to do with
Yeah.
your studies.
and to tell them what you went to Hawaii to study,
Just study education.
and tell them how the study went.
Well, we studied a lot of booze.
There wasn't any school in January in
No, there was
Hawaii.
no school.
They went to study education,
Everybody
and there
was
wasn't
out.
any school. So
I think you made an A in that class.
Yeah, great class.
you know,
We went to 4 islands, and it was like $2,500
yeah.
for a
Damn.
month.
He beat that.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding, for a month.
Like Kauai, I think Kauai was probably the most beautiful place I've ever seen. It was beautiful.
See, I think the teachers think of the wildest things they can think of, so they can.
It's like,
Yeah.
Come on, we're gonna do this.
We got a boondoggle.
We
Yeah.
had to read a book. I don't remember the book, and we had to write a paper about the book. And so most of us wrote our paper on the plane on the way home.
Yeah. So I was a biologist who took us down to George
Diggs.
Diggs. It was a fun trip. But my
Our
4,
teacher's name.
you had to do 3 Jan terms. My 4 were.
I just remember your dad laughing about it.
Yeah. The first one was on campus. It was Movie Lab, and we went and
Yeah.
watched movies every day.
What a
Wow, music lab.
Did you
Yeah.
have wine tasting?
Yeah. One, let's see, Movie Lab. The second one was
In
jazz.
New Orleans. His wine
Yeah.
tasting was in New
Oh,
Orleans.
yeah.
Yeah, the second
Oh,
one.
it was New Orleans.
Yeah, second year I did jazz. So 3 weeks we studied the history of jazz. They played jazz music, and then we spent a week in New Orleans doing cool stuff. And then the third one was wine making, where we made wine tasting and wine making, where we made our own wine and we got to taste different wines and cheeses. And then the fourth one was the Costa Rica for a month.
Oh, man.
Don was just convinced that Vance was thinking these things up. Just, this thing's cool.
He just
Well,
never
Never
gets
gets
now-
through so he can go.
The one I
go to
did
New
over
Orleans.
there on campus was a music one, and it was classical music, so we slept a lot.
Yeah.
But that's when the space shuttle flew up.
Ah, that
I
January.
remember that.
That's crazy.
Way to bring us down.
I
Oh,
know.
We were having fun, getting in the
The
way, and
Hawaii
now
one was really cool.
All right. So how long is it going to take you to get to Panama?
I'm hoping to be in Panama City sometime in December.
All right. Tell us about what you've learned that you're going to have to do to get through the Panama Canal.
Well, I'm one of the things I'm going to have to do is hire an agent when I get down there to take care of all the paperwork. That you have to pay for a captain for the boat, and then you have to pay for line handlers if you don't have enough. You have to have 4 line handlers. That way they can throw lines to you once you get inside the locks. They can throw lines to you. You have to have 4 people to be able to do that. So if you've got enough crew to do it, you don't have to rent those. You just have to have the captain. But if you don't, you have to. If it's just Justin and I, then I'll have to hire 2 line handlers. And
Road
then-
trip.
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Come on down. Then that will, once you get everything set up, they'll give you a date that you're going to go into the canal, and you go into the locks, and then
Here.
yep, and that take you up into that lake Gatun. It's about a 2-day trip overall.
Oh, there's
Wow.
Gatun Lake up there. And so once you get to Gatun Lake, what do you do?
I'm thinking that I think it's going to come out on the other side of there by Cologne.
Cologne?
Yeah.
So maybe go.
So all of that is.
Oh, right here. You go through here, I guess. Go through here. No,
I
here.
think it's right there. That's
right,
the other.
Lamone.
Yeah.
You cut through there. So I was thinking it was a straight shot. I guess I didn't have it pictured.
You go up through that lake and
I didn't know
you have to weave. That's why
I
you have to have
didn't
that
either.
captain.
It looks like an obstacle course.
Yeah.
And so how long does it take to get through the whole deal?
About 2 days to get through there.
And big, huge ships go through.
Yeah, you're going to be in there with ships going all around you, and then there'll be a lot of people that'll go into the lake and they'll stay there for a few days a week or whatever, and fish and just hang out.
Is that fresh water or salt water?
That's fresh water.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea.
And it come out on the other side, and then you go through the other locks over there, and it'll put you back out into the Caribbean.
So how much is it going to cost you to get?
Well, up until last year or a year before last, when the Chinese took over the canal, it was going to cost me about $1,500, and now everything I'm seeing is look like it's going to be about $3,500 for both my size.
Damn.
But they.
Why did the Chinese take over the Panama Canal?
She was telling us that's why you were in the restaurant. Tell her.
Yeah, they bought the largest port right at the mouth by Panama City, and that gave them controlling interest of the locks and everything. So they're the ones that they upgraded and built bigger locks for the super tankers that they couldn't get through there, and did a bunch of improvements to it. And so the Panamanians just pretty much sold them the rights to control the canal.
Who let them do that? Who was in charge of that? Who would sleep on the job for that?
So anything going east to west, pretty much in the Pacific anymore, they're going to make some money off of.
We gave it back to Panamanians 10 or 15 years ago, didn't it?
It was. Wasn't it Jimmy Carter that did it?
Was it that long
I think it was Jimmy Carter's administration.
So we really have been out of it for a while.
Yeah.
So hell, if you don't cut through Panama,
That's a pretty big thing.
you got to go around South America.
You got to go around Cape Horn, and that's not a good run down there.
Tell them about Cape Horn.
Yeah, Cape Horn, not a good place.
Way.
Yeah, they say down there that's the waves can get up to 100 feet tall. And it's because there's no landmass stopping them. They just go all the way around the world, and so they just keep building and building and building.
That's scary.
You have huge storms down there.
Did you get caught in any storms so far? Other than just high waves and wind?
Not so far on this trip. The trip when I came from Charleston back around to Galveston, I got caught in a storm out in the middle of the Gulf. And that we were in probably 30-foot seas then, and 35-mile-an-hour winds, and it was pouring down rain and lightning everywhere. Yeah, that one made you pucker up quite a bit. Plus, we were getting pushed down into Cuba. We finally had to turn around because I could see the mountaintops at Cuba, and we couldn't go any closer because I was trying to get around it to get into the Yucatan, and then go on over to Mexico and run up the Mexico shoreline. But we had to turn around and go back to Florida. And
you're a grown man and everything, Vance, but remember the last time we went sailing?
Yeah, we don't have too good a track record.
There's our road trip.
There's one big steadfast rule now of sailing when you're out on the ocean. You do not get drunk. You save that for when you come into port. Then you just get slobber and fall down there. But when you're at sea, I drink a lot of water.
So how long is it going to take you to get from Panama back? What's your goal?
The next stop after Panama is probably going to be somewhere around Belize. Would be my come-in point.
I heard that's a beautiful place.
Yeah. I was thinking about coming in there. And then from there, I think I want to make a run to Havana.
You got to go to Cuba?
Yep, I want to go see Cuba.
Can you do it legally now?
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again?
they've opened it up now.
I thought,
Yeah,
I
you
thought
can fly.
your president closed it back down.
No, he didn't. He didn't close it down. There's flights all the time. They're out of Palm Beach going to Cuba. When I was out there.
That's gonna be a cool.
Yeah, Chef Torres says you need to go to
Yeah, St. Kitts.
St. Kitts right
Yeah.
here. He said that's
That
where you need
sounds
to
like
go.
the South Padre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might
When
not
you get
ever
over to
Justin out of there.
Yeah.
yeah, St.
College
Kitts,
town.
the Virgin Islands, and St. John's, all that area that's big. That's just like being in Cabo, big party towns.
He said it was like a college kids all over the place.
Yep.
Certain times of year, and then other
Yeah.
times is the dry season.
That's the one neat thing about La Paz. It's where the Mexican people go to vacation. So it's a nice city. It's clean, good restaurants, but you don't have. Cabo is, man, it's like Las Vegas on the water.
Turistos.
Yeah, I mean, it's just full of, and that's what the whole thing is geared up. These big old glittery bars. It's for going and getting drunk all night long.
Imagine it's expensive.
Oh yeah, it's very expensive. But La Paz is much more laid back, and it's just a beautiful city.
So you're going up to Havana, and then you're gonna come back. Where are you gonna put your boat in?
From Havana, I don't know if at that point I'm going to come back to Texas or where I'll head from there. I was thinking about maybe going on around and just knocking around in the Caribbean for a little bit.
Shit, we may never see you again.
No, during hurricane season, I'm going to put the boat up. I'm not going to be down there on that boat during hurricane
You're
season.
gonna be like Captain Ron.
The Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You know, come the summertime, I'll just put the boat up wherever I'm at and come back up to the States and visit all the grandkids and you guys and hang out.
Jamaica was nice when we went to Jamaica.
Yeah, I may make another run through there. Go down. What was it? Tres Rios and
Ocho Rios.
Ocho Rios?
Rivers come together.
Yeah.
You gonna get out here in this
Montego Bay.
these?
Yeah, I was thinking about Dominican Republic and Martinique. Maybe running down in there a little bit.
Barbados.
Yeah. Just make Trinidad and Tobago.
That's where that is?
Yeah.
Wow.
You get into South America.
Yeah, I really would like to go south of the equator one time. So that may just be the start of just working my way on down.
So the equator runs right there.
Yep.
Between Colombia and which. So you'd have to drop into South America a little
Is
bit.
that where you drink a glass of water if you cross over the equator, or what was that?
You're supposed to take a drink of whiskey or whatever, wine or whatever, and then pour some to Neptune.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, you pour some in the water, you take a big drink of it, and then you pour the rest of it to Neptune.
When you pass the equator?
Yeah, when you cross the equator.
Where is it you go and you can see the water going two different directions at the same time?
We're talking about, I think.
Now that's more like where rivers, the Amazon, you can see where the river push out of the Amazon goes out into the Atlantic.
But I mean, isn't this where the bathtub water, the swirl
Spins the other way.
That's a wives' tale.
That's a wives' tale?
Yeah.
It all spins the same way?
It all spins the same way.
Damn.
It all goes downhill again.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking about making a run up the Galapagos, right out there outside of Ecuador.
That would really be
But
cool.
man, it's $5,000 to go out there anymore. They have
Really?
Just to go out there?
Yeah, to be able to go to the marina and and anchor out at the marina. It's $5,000. You have to have a pass. You have to buy a pass to be able to go tour the island.
Where's
The hell with them turtles.
yeah?
Right? We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Where is where Captain Cook went? He was selling.
The Solomon Islands.
Yeah.
You have to blow it up some more, but they're a little bit south of Hawaii there.
You ever gonna go that way?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it
That's big
because it's
Been a long way.
well, it's 20. It takes about 3 weeks to get from La
There's
Paz.
the Marshall Islands.
Yeah.
water. 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
that's a long time to be at sea.
You'd be glad to see El Chapo when you
You get
sweet mother. Come here.
El Chapo.
Say, who's got to know about me and El Chapo? Me and 4 other guys.
Before holding him down.
The 4 have to hold him down. Because he don't go for that
Oh, man.
Oh man!
Well, I'm envious. That's just
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
cool.
Well, Gary, yeah, we appreciate
As long as
you.
my health holds up, we'll
Man,
see where it takes me.
well, after you get through Panama and get up here, you're going to have to come back and tell us the rest of the story. This is part one.
Part one. There we go.
We need to know how the Panama Canal goes.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
You got us to La Paz. Hey, man, you still got a long trip ahead
I've
of
only
you.
gone 1,400 miles so far. I got another 2,000 to go to get to
Damn.
Panama.
Damn. Well, man, we appreciate you coming. I know we got to get to cooking. We got the, you requested, you flew in today, and now you're flying to
Going back to La Paz Tuesday
Tuesday.
to check on the boat.
Come in to see Kevin, check on your shed. I know that you're worried about your shed.
Yeah,
Kevin's fixed your shed up in the
the
backyard.
man cave back there.
Yeah,
She shed.
yeah, the she shed.
Where's the she shed?
Yeah, and
Man, I've done a lot of them. I'm
yeah,
impressed with that.
yeah. But and then you're flying to La Paz. But man, we appreciate you coming in and talking to us. But I'll try to get this out probably maybe a week to 10 days, something like that. Check the website. We'll see how you do.
Alrighty.
But you're gonna have to come back and tell us everything, man.
Yeah,
I will.
see the pictures and stuff.
Yeah. I'll keep trying to post all the pictures. So
I may download some pictures off of your Facebook and put them
Yeah.
up here on the website
yeah, go do it.
so you can see it. Maybe some of the videos if I can get them down.
Yeah, that video of that big shark, that whale shark, that was quite a moment. That big thing just came out of that murky water, man.
So tell us about that. You were swimming. Tell us how that came about.
Justin and I were out. We were snorkeling. Now we were on a tour to go out to see the seals and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we were out there snorkeling, and they saw a big dark spot in the water. So the guide knew what it was. He said, "Y'all get in the water out here." So I got down there and I got that GoPro, and we're just looking around, and all of a sudden out of that murk comes this huge, I think it's 26, 28 feet long, damn whale shark. Come on. And I mean, as he came under me, I was about 4 feet from him, and his tail sticks up 6 or 8 feet. Hell, I was having to backpedal to get away from him so he didn't slap me with his tail.
How many people get that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Up close and personal.
Where was that?
That was there in La Paz Harbor.
In the forest.
Yeah, they'd come up there to breed right off the La Paz coastline.
Man, that sounds like fun. I hope don't fall out of the boat.
Oh, I'm trying not to. It's been a lot of fun down there so far. I've had a blast.
Yeah. All right, Gary. Well, we appreciate you coming, and we'll get it up, and we'll see how it goes from there.
All right.
Let's eat some. We're cooking. You requested on this trip the Cajun combo.
Cajun combo. I don't get good Cajun food anywhere in Mexico or in Florida.
So y'all brought shrimp and
Got
corn
shrimp and
andouille,
Yeah.
and potatoes, new potatoes.
Yeah.
Corn.
We're gonna boil them up, and we're gonna eat that.
Have a big bowl. Sounds good to me.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time.
Well, thank you, Vance. Appreciate it. Man. Well,
Well, I hope y'all enjoyed our conversation with Gary. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it. We had a lot of fun. It's always nice to see Gary when he's in town and talk to him. I appreciate him letting me give him a hard time, and I wish him safe travels through his passage through the Panama Canal. I hope his boat's still there when he gets down to Mexico. the people in our lives every day, all of us are extra usual, and everybody has something we can learn from someone else, and we just have to take the time to talk to them, ask them, find out their story, and listen. And if there's somebody in your life that has made a special impression upon you, or someone you think that we might could benefit from getting them on this podcast, send me their contact information to vancehines@gmail.com. That's VANCEHINDS@gmail.com. And if they're willing to make the trek down here to Waxahachie, I'll put them in the chair and I'll ask them the questions, and we'll all learn. We'll all learn about them. And so please send me some names. I'm always looking for someone to interview, but I'm enjoying this, so y'all are going to have to suffer through it for a while longer. But I hope all of you are having an extra usual week, and we'll see you next week. Next week, our interviewee is Sherzada Sherry Kantarovich Burris. She is a Bosnian refugee, put herself through school. Family's Muslim, ended up converting to Christianity, had her family abandon her when they had to leave the Bosnian country. They lived in refugee camps for 3 years in the tent cities, and she's got a wonderful story. She's put herself through school, become a lawyer, and now she works up there with me. And I couldn't miss the opportunity to question her about her story. So that's who's going to be on the podcast next week. I should have it out next week. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.